I think healing is more of an integration than really you're over it.
I think that word integrate, I think that's it.
Welcome to Life and Love by Design. I'm life and relationship coach Odette Coronel. This podcast is for individuals and couples who are done living on autopilot, who are ready to understand the patterns shaping their relationships, their choices, and their sense of self, and redesign them with purpose and intention. Here, we don't just talk about what's hard. We name what's actually happening beneath it and what to do about it. And if you start recognizing yourself or your relationship in these conversations, know that this is the exact work that I do with my private coaching clients, individuals and couples who are ready for real change. Because a meaningful life and connected relationships don't happen by default. They're designed. So let's begin. Welcome back to Life and Love by Design. I'm life and relationship coach Odette Coronel, and this is the space where we talk about how to live and love with purpose and intention and not by default. Today's conversation is about a really important topic, and it's about something that is deeply universal, but it's also incredibly personal. And the name of today's episode is Dancing with Grief. Healing through movement, loss, and presence. So to have this conversation, I have invited the beautiful and the very impressive and talented Natalie Caruncho. Natalie is a Broadway performer. She is an associate choreographer, yoga teacher, originally from Miami, Florida, now living in Brooklyn, New York. Natalie grew up dancing and has had the privilege of working on some beautiful stages. She currently performs on Broadway in Buena Vista Social Club, which I highly recommend. I've watched it like 3 or 4 times. And by the way, if you're Cuban, bring tissues because it's very emotional also. She's an associate choreographer for Moulin Rouge. And some of her favorite performance credits include On Your Feet, which is part of the original Broadway company. And that's actually where I met Natalie over a decade ago through my daughter, Olivia. I can't believe it was so long ago, who was also part of the show. And she's been in The Heights, Romeo and Juliet, Chorus Line, and just so much more. And she's also a registered 700-hour registered yoga teacher. She teaches in New York City at SkyTing. And if that's not enough, she also writes a monthly essay on Substack and posts regularly on her social media about grief and presence. So Natalie, I am so happy that you're here.
I'm so happy to be here. You already have me in tears.
Thank you. I really am honored that you agreed to come on. I felt compelled to call you on because the things that you post have really touched me deeply. And I really want this podcast to talk about real conversations, real human things that people experience. And grief is something that people have a hard time talking about and expressing. And I feel that you have been able to give words and just emotion through the stuff that you share. So thank you for doing that, first of all, and thank you for being here. But before we get into all of that, I just want to I like to start with a little bit of an origin story.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about little Natalie. How was it that you developed that love of dancing in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much for having me, and what a beautiful space you've created. And I just got here.
Thank you.
Yeah, little Nat. So my mom was a dancer and dance teacher. She had a studio for 15 years, and when I was born, I mean, my mom and my dad both say this, like I was dancing in the crib before I walked. I started dancing and focusing really on ballet as like a really young girl. Wanted to be a ballerina. That was the dream. And then growing up, started to sing a little. I took a jazz class. Somebody turned me in. I was like, "Wah!" And somewhere in high school, my mom sat me down and asked me, she was like, "Look, Natalie, you're ready to audition for these ballet companies. Is that what you want to do?" And at 15, after being taught by this, by wanting to make your mom proud. And she had taught me everything, everything. And I was like, Mom, I don't know. I feel like there's this other thing, the theater, jazz, musical theater that was starting to open up to me. And she was like, okay, then that's what we'll do. So yeah, so I did musical theater through high school and was singing and did an acting program in college, moved to New York with Broadway dreams.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I guess
Beautiful.
that's yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. So really your mom and growing up watching your mom in her dancing school and learning from her, not only was it inside of you, and I really believe that like we're born with that talent and that, you know, salsa,
Yeah.
sort of, right? We're born with that rhythm, but your mom really inspired you also just in your career and in this trajectory that you went on.
100%. I mean, my grandmother who lived with us, I can't remember exactly what the age was, but ended up living with my mom for like 25, 30 years. She was a singer in Cuba. My dad, even though he's not an artist every day in his work, will be like, I was a musician in high school. He's a wonderful trumpet player. And so infused in the family unit, and my brother's an artist, was just this like gathering around the arts as something that we all loved and experienced together. And I was very supported by my mom for sure, but my dad, my grandma, my brother, my family, just everybody was like, holding my back as I dreamed forward.
Right, right. That's beautiful. And you mentioned you're Cuban. I'm Cuban too. There's something culturally that music is in us. My
Oh
family
my
also is
gosh.
very musical, and we all like love to sing and perform, and and it's part of our culture also, and we grew up with that dance and that music. And what is it about dance? I know for me, when I love to dance for fun, I don't want anybody watching me. I just do it for fun. So for me, dancing is something that it just, when I'm doing it, it's not just fun, it puts me almost in a flow state, and it's something very spiritual and moving. What is it that dance did for you? Was it the fun part? Was it the performing part? What was it that the relationship with dance that kind of evolved for you?
Yeah, I think what you said about it putting you in a flow state and the freedom of it, the embodiedness of it, is not something I could have spoken to as a little kid.
Right.
But I think it's a few things. I think it was fun. I think I was good at it. And so it was a challenge that as a young person felt like, oh, I can grow and I can put my energy here. And when I work on this, I get better and there's more that's available to me. And I think that just being able to engage with it felt really special. I think it connected me to my mom. I got to like hang out at the studio and, you know, and do well and have her beam at me, I think is somewhere part of it. And it's just fun. And I think the expression too. I think from a really young age, I played Clara when I was 11 or 12 or both or something. And there was something at that time that was reflected back to me by my teachers that, I would dance, but I wanted to know the story. And I wanted to, even at a really young age, wanted to partake in the storytelling. Again, things that I don't know that I could have articulated
Right.
at
You kind of,
9, 10, 11.
right. It was
Yeah.
just something that now looking back,
Yeah, sort of like,
you
oh,
can
that's the
recognize.
storytelling. Yeah, like, oh, I love stories. Oh, I love embodiment, and track that through.
Right.
And it's fun.
It is fun. It is fun. And yeah, definitely through dance, you're able to tell a story and bring up or elicit emotions in people, like either sadness or nostalgia or melancholy, or even, happiness and joy
Yeah,
and the whole
pride
spectrum.
and totally.
Pride, totally, all of
And
that.
then, to talk about family, like, and then you grow up as a kid, you grow up salsa dancing, and that just feels like family. And partnering feels
Oh,
like connection between people. I mean, that's, you know,
absolutely.
since I was a little kid and now more and professionally. And it's just the best way to dance.
It is. I love
That's
it.
the
I love
best.
it. And again, it's something so cultural. I was explaining that to someone the other day about how, like, in our families, music is such a part of it. It could be
Mm.
a baptism
Yeah.
or Thanksgiving or Christmas, and we're going to dance. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
it's such a part of who we are, our culture, and how we interact and how we connect with each other.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's my favorite part.
Love it. Love it. I want to shift into, how did you get into yoga, which, by the way, I love yoga. I always had scoliosis growing up. So when I was a teenager, I kind of got into yoga a little bit, and it did help me with my back pain and all of that. But yoga is kind of like, it's also embodiment, and you're very
Hmm.
connected with your body, but where dance is a performance, and it has to do with, it's external, right? It's other, performing for other people, and it requires stamina, and you might have to, follow choreography and be precise. Yoga is more like of an internal thing. You kind of shift inward. So what does that do for you, and how did you kind of get into that kind of body work and embodiment,
Yeah,
or
I mean, I think,
somatic work, I guess, is the word I'm
yeah,
looking for. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I think you hit it on the head. I think, I mean, one, that performance, dance, and performance ends up being something that you work on and then make an offering out. You know, when I'm on stage, part of what feels so beautiful is to be a mirror for the people in the audience, or to offer what's in me through the choreography. And I think on the mat, there's still expression, but you're making that offering sort of cyclically back to yourself. And things come
Right.
out, certainly, but it's not, and there's an argument that like dance is for me too, when it feels really special, even when you're on
Right.
stage. But
Yeah.
that relationship with an audience is part of it.
Is part of
Um,
it. Hmm.
but in yoga, I think it just comes back in both ways. That you
Right.
pour in and you pour in and out. And people always told me that I would love yoga as a dancer. It'll take care of your body. And so I really thought about it at first as asana, as the poses and the postures and how do you move through it. And a couple of times I went to take yoga as like in my 20s, and I like didn't get it, and I wasn't good at it because I didn't know all the names. And so I really went to a 200-hour to do my first training in 2020, like before the world sort of shut,
Hmm.
um, to be better at yoga, which is so not the point. I was like, I need to
There's
go learn
not
these
supposed to
steps.
be pressure involved in yoga.
Totally. I was like, I need to learn the choreography so I can be better at
Yeah.
this. And
Right.
they were like, that's
Like a
not what
true
it's about.
professional.
Yeah. And I think that opening that window into, oh, you can show up somewhere and it's not about how high your leg is. Like there's so much
Right.
more here. There's just so much more to be gained. And that yoga is something, sure, you practice on a mat in order to walk through the world a little more embodied, a little more kind, a little more in touch with your worth.
Mm.
Maybe
Yeah.
different things for different people.
Right. Yeah. For me, I find that it's very grounding. And
100%.
I don't practice yoga anymore. Like sometimes I'll do like a salutation to the sun, or something simple like that. I've gotten into Pilates lately, which I
Yeah.
love, and there's a little bit of yoga connection there. But for me, I found it very grounding, and you're not really comparing yourself to anyone. It's just kind of, you're just kind of seeing what your body can do. And
Mhm.
I feel that for me, it gave me a little bit of like, it felt more connected to my body, more like I understood it better, and I was able to like push it a little bit more. And if I breathe into the stretch, you can stretch just a little bit further than you ever thought possible.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's so many, it's so good for our bodies. It's so good for the body. And then, yeah, you infuse it with breath and it becomes a little something else. And then you infuse it with intention or thought and it becomes something a little bit different and more. And it's just
Hmm.
like a little playground, but,
Hmm.
on a mat.
Yeah. Yeah. And it helps you regulate your nervous system, which is something that I talk
100%.
about a lot. And I work with, that's a huge part of the work that I do with my clients, because we need to regulate our nervous system before we can take action. We're
100.
so focused on the actions that we need to take. We need to do this. We need to learn about that. And we have to first slow down
Yeah.
and calm our nervous system and regulate ourselves.
Yeah, there's something Jerry Mitchell said during On Your
Mm,
Feet, of all people.
mm,
He's the director of On Your Feet, and he was like, how you do anything is how you do everything,
yes.
and it really stuck. And years later, so many years later, on
Mm,
a yoga mat, I had a teacher who was teaching a pretty tough class. I was not comfortable, and I was not, I was in friction, and my mind was racing. And this same invitation to be like, how can you hold yourself in a pose? It's about to be over. Like,
mm,
can you hold yourself here and regulate? And what are the tools you can use? And not to try to sell yoga, but I think one of the things I've really benefited from is that I can play with these real life. I can put myself in friction in a safe container in order to learn how to regulate myself. And then hopefully, maybe those tools are strong and they show up when I'm in friction or when I'm having a tough moment outside of in life, in the world. Um,
right. Yeah, you can apply that out in the real world when you encounter other challenges, other things that you
yeah,
may not be comfortable with and find challenging. And you can kind of take that same approach and use those same tools.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, beautiful. Now, you share, as I mentioned before, so openly about losing your mom. Do you want to share with us a little bit just about maybe tell us about your mom and just how that grief has shown up for you, your
Yeah,
relationship with grief?
yeah, and it'll pour out of my eyeballs just because, just because it's because I love her. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, she was amazing. She was like a delight of human being. She was a dance teacher. She was always of service in any room that she was in, whether it was with family, whether it was with her students. She worked at a high school for 30 years after having her studio. And always, but definitely since she died and at her celebration of life and in the time after, I've gotten so many messages and not through specifically what I've been posting now, just in general, people wanting to make contact with my mom in some way or tell
Mm,
me, oh, I was a student of hers.
mm,
She was always the one that I could go to. And she was just very generous with her heart and her presence and had a way, I think, of whether you were a dancer or not, to really see you and to sort of see what your potential was, whether it was dancing or just who you were as a person and sort of hold it for you and be like, yeah, you can go here. You know, just something I think I learned from her and that I think about. She, in 2024, she had like a little bit of back pain. And it's funny, right? In retrospect, it's like, oh my God, she had complained about this pain. But she was a dancer and she was in her body and she'd been managing it and just thought it was being in her 60s and still working full time or whatever. And she went to the doctor. They thought she had kidney stones. They kept her in the hospital for an extra couple of days just to check things out. And it ended up not being kidney stones. She got diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer at the beginning of March. And, you pray that you'll have as much time as possible. And she died in July, uh, mid-July. So it was like 4 months and change. It was so fast. She was extraordinary through it. Um, she stayed herself and bright and like really related to life, which I think has really taught me a lot. Um, and then was sort of extraordinary the last 2 weeks, which we didn't know were the last 2 weeks. You just don't know, or we didn't know. And even in the last days, she was just kind of like, almost like she could decide, like, I don't want it to go much further than this. Like, I think this is it.
mm,
And not to make it sound magical, but it was sort of extraordinary to watch her move energy and and in a way decide and to protect us from that. I don't know. It's just sort of extraordinary.
mm. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. And it's interesting because it started with back pain, and so many people have experienced back pain. It's just such a common symptom of so many
life.
different things
Yeah.
in life and, being active, and it happened so quickly.
Oh my God. And they said it could have, pancreatic cancer. And I obviously am not an expert, cannot speak for everyone's experience, but they mentioned to her, oh, it might have been in your body for 5, 9 years, 8, for a
Mm,
long time. And it's one of the cancers that ends up slipping through the cracks often, and people don't catch it until very late. And
it's a work
yeah,
silently. Did she have any other, just out of curiosity, any other symptoms or health things leading up to
no,
that? No.
no, she
No.
was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
she was just getting ready to go on a dance trip. And because she had this back pain, and she was at a lunch, and something in that moment, she was like, I just need to get checked before I leave the state with
Mm,
kids.
mm, right.
And thank God she did,
Thank God you did. Yeah. Wow. How were you able to, because when you get that diagnosis, I mean, life changes completely in an instant. If you're doing all the right things, you're showing up, you're holding it together, you're being capable and responsible, and yet something in your life and relationships or your marriage still feels off, then give me a few seconds of your time, because this message is for you. Relationships don't usually fall apart because of one big event. More often, it's the small everyday moments when we stop being intentional, or we stop really listening, or we stop choosing connection. Those are the things that create distance over time. I work with thoughtful, high functioning individuals and couples who aren't broken, but they're feeling disconnected or misaligned or just wondering how they got here. In my coaching, we slow things down. We try to understand what's happening beneath the surface. We identify the patterns that are shaping your relationships and your choices, and then we intentionally design what comes next. So if you're listening and you're thinking, this feels like me, that's not an accident. I offer a complimentary relationship and life alignment audit. It's a focused 45-minute conversation where I'm going to help you gain clarity and identify what comes next. You can book your session by visiting odettecoronel.com. I would love to connect with you. How were you able to support yourself, kind of sustain yourself, I guess is the right word, while you cared for her during that time and experienced your own emotions and still tried to move forward in some ways with the logistics of life? How were you able to just support yourself through that?
Yeah. So I stayed in Miami during that time. And I think I left, I don't know, twice for a couple of days, which was difficult. But I think something, again, looking back, there was such clarity of purpose at that time. It's just like, I'm her partner and her advocate, and everything that I have will be offered in service of her.
Mm,
And part of that funnily became like, okay, then I have to make sure that, we're really eating well, and I have to do that too. And I have to make sure I get some sleep because I'm going to be up and down. Or she would be at the hospital and she would always get stuck there. We would take her, and because of what she was going through in her body, it's like she would go in for one thing and then they would keep her. And that was something that was like really hard on her. And so I think it was like by necessity, some of the like self care, I put it in quotes because it wasn't like, oh, let me make sure I take care of it. It wasn't even like that. It was just like in
mhm,
the survival of it, what's required,
mm,
or what felt required, what felt like it was required was a certain amount of stamina. And yeah, just wanting to continue to meet her. She was so, I said this, I can hear myself, like I've written it, but this idea of like being so related to life. She just was like, okay, what's next? What's in front of me? Without sort of putting on some, strong vest. She just was like, I'm going to continue to live. And so whatever's in front of me, like that's what we're living through. And that's what. And so I think that was also her leadership in a way through all of it. And she had a way that she wanted to go through it and certain boundaries around it. And so I just felt like my job was to be her yeah, again, her advocate, her partner. I don't know if that answers your question. Oh, and she, as my mother, would be like, go take yoga, get
Mm.
out, go to Orange Theory down the, like, I
Mhm.
need you to move your body.
Mm.
Like,
So
you
she
can't just
was
sit here.
also taking care of you and making sure that you took care of you.
Yes, the
Yeah.
mom. Yeah,
Yeah.
she was amazing. I would be like, I can't wait, And I would
Yeah.
just tell the instructor and have my phone. I'd be like, you call me, if you
Mhm.
need me. And I did, I would go. She's also my
Mhm.
teacher. Like, she's both. So
Mhm.
once she would look at me a certain way, I would be like, okay, I'm out.
I better go.
Me voy.
I better take care of myself. And that's beautiful that she was such an example. She kept moving forward through all of it, and okay, what's next? And she loved life, whatever that meant for her at the time. She stayed focused and she did it, like you said, with her boundaries. But it's important to remember that you can't support her and be her advocate if you're not well.
No.
So that self-care and carving out that time, filling your own cup is crucial so that you
Yeah.
can show up for her in the best way possible. And as a parent, that's the best gift you can give to your mom. Parents worry so much about their kids and they want their kids to be okay. And you taking care of yourself, I'm sure on some level helped your mom kind of
Yeah.
feel a little bit of feel better, feel, a little bit of peace that
Yeah.
you're taking care of yourself. That's a gift you can give to your mom in some ways.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And I learned too that it could be in really little ways. Like, I didn't have the luxury of like a spa afternoon or something, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Um, but it was just like, okay, can I take an extra second with my café con leche and sit and write for
Right.
5 minutes, because I know that will,
Mm-hmm.
land me in the day. Um, or I'm walking the dog, so something that had to get done, but can I just stand outside for 2 seconds and be like, okay, I'm here.
Right.
One really good breath and then get back in there. And
Yeah.
I think acknowledging that it could happen in really small ways and in a yoga class
Mm-hmm.
or a workout, something like that.
Right.
But
Yeah. That's really important because I think people have the expectation that it has to be a spa day or it has to be going
right.
away for the day and sometimes that's really not a reality. It's just not possible. But being
No.
able to, in small moments, just breathe, find a
Yeah.
little space for yourself and take a walk or breathe, take a moment, take a bath. It doesn't have to be huge. It's just remembering
Mm-mm.
to pause and check in
Yeah.
with
And
yourself.
the intentionality, I think, of those moments, if it's just standing outside and taking in the sun,
Hmm.
just taking a moment, to be like, okay, I'm here and the sun is shining and it's okay, versus running by those moments, whether it's a bath or a quick shower, but for a moment in the shower, just being like, whatever, just,
Hmm.
but just
Yeah.
taking a moment of intention that's like, this moment's for me, or this breath is for release. We breathe all
Yeah.
the time. It
Right,
changes it when we
but
do it with,
not intentionally. And a lot of times we
right.
breathe, but our breath is like up here. We're not really
Yeah,
breathing from our diaphragm. So
totally.
the breathing is actually restrictive in a
Yeah.
lot of ways, and it just adds the tension. But when we
Yeah.
can just breathe intentionally,
Yeah.
that's when
Big
we can
time.
relax our bodies and our nervous system.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned in one of your videos songs and music. And
Yeah.
what are some of the songs that are meaningful for you and helped you through this time? It's interesting because music is auditory, right? It's we're talking about the senses. We're talking about the body, but also like the senses. It's all of these things are tools for us and they help us in some ways. What are some of the songs that you felt connected to or helped you through this time?
Yeah.
Or now even?
Yeah. In the video you're talking about. So during that time I had started to write, not write this way. It was in my notes app, but
Mhm.
I was, a couple of times I like wanted to, writing really helps me. I write in the mornings most morning. I've had a relationship with like morning pages for a long time. This idea of just like pouring in the morning.
Mhm.
And 2 years ago in Miami, there would be certain things that I wanted to keep together. And so now, almost 2 years later, I've been really curious about they popped up semi recently. And I was like, these things I should just stop and consider. And so um, I've been reading them just sort of as they come, but it's been really powerful and potent, I think, to just sit with a couple of things that felt important enough at the time to put somewhere else, to sort of like pin somewhere.
Right.
But yeah, to music, I at the time, it's funny because it was, again, not intentional, but there became these like 4 or 5 songs that I think they were regulating. They were easy to listen to. And I love music.
Yeah.
I think music takes you places, whether it's to cry or to feel heartbreak or to feel joy or, any of the places that it can take us. And for some reason, I would try to listen to something else and it would just, I think, move emotion, my nervous system, my orientation, whatever, too much. And so I just would listen to these like 5 songs. There was like one of my teachers and dear friends sent me this 582 hertz frequency something that was transformation and miracles, and my mom and I would listen to that on the way to chemo. And many mornings she would be like, put that on, and we would just listen to it. It has the ocean in it. It's beautiful. Jacob Collier, just because he's amazing. A song called Little Blue. We also would listen to, this is not on this video, but from my mom's house to the hospital to go do like chemo treatments was a certain amount of time to go. And she was like a little funny. She was like, I don't want to call it, we're going to chemo. Like, we need something else. And so of all songs, Party Time, Gloria Estefan.
Oh.
She'd be like, we're going to Party Time. Oh. And so we would listen to it. We would hit like a certain street. And if I pressed play, it was the amount of time from there to like driving into to the building. So she'd be like, okay, it's time. And we would just like rock out. Everybody knows it.
Yeah. Oh my
God. And
just a fun song. Yeah.
Yeah. To like lift.
Right.
To lift.
It's uplifting. Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful. All of the stages of grief, among all of them, one of them is anger. Oof. Which comes up. And to see you're so poised, you're so calm, so much grace. Where did the anger come up? Because I'm sure that it must have.
Yeah, I think anger is like my work. I think that's it's definitely the movie In and Out or Inside Out? Inside Out.
Inside
In and Out,
Out.
Also a great movie, but no, Inside Out.
Inside Out, right. The Pixar movie. Great movie about the different parts of us, yeah.
It's like if there was an anger land, I don't like to go there. I'm like, I know you exist, but I'll be here.
You try to keep it exiled a little bit.
Yeah, I'm like, you're too much. I'll go towards grief, sadness, joy. But I think when my mom died, like right after, the rage she had like such beautiful faith, and we would go to mass and I would be on my knees, just like praying that like somehow, and there are gifts and graces I think that she received, and to be able to, I just felt so angry that people would say to me like, oh, well, God said it was her time. And I would be like, let me have a conversation with him.
Yeah.
I'll give him peace in my mind.
I disagree. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. He doesn't get to decide. But I think just that place and also just the injustice of someone so good and who had so much life to live. She was 64, turning 65. It was like the year of retirement being like on the table, and she was in a place in her own life where she was like, I want to own my life that New Year's. Wow. Like, what are we talking about? And the chapters, more selfishly, but I was like, I was supposed to have her more. Yeah. Like, we're not done. Yeah. So I think, at injustice, at the injustice of it,
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's no bow.
Yeah.
There's no like, oh, well,
Right.
like,
There's
there's
nothing
no,
that you can come up with to say, okay, that makes sense and this is okay, because
yeah,
it's
it's
not. It's just
not.
one of those things that has no,
Yeah.
our human brains just can't come to terms with accepting that this is okay, and yet we have no choice but to accept and move on. And were you able to tap into, I know you said you don't feel comfortable feeling the anger, but were you able to tap into it and sit with it a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's something that I continue to have to give space to, but I
Mm-hmm.
think it's infused in grief. I
Mm.
think, I mean, there have been moments of, um, and it still happens, but it used to happen more often, just like being in the apartment and just wailing and being brought, I mean, just like falling to my knees. And like, I keep looking over there because I see myself in the kitchen, like just inconsolable. And I think in that is sadness and rage and anger and love, so much love. It's all love.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in that way, through the doorway of grief, I think I've touched and
Mm-hmm.
allowed anger to come. But I also think it's something that I know I need to, not just with regard to my mom, just sort of in general. I'm like aware that it's a really helpful, beautiful emotion that gives us clarity and strength and boundaries and gets
Mm-hmm.
my needs met. Like I see her from
Yeah.
what she is. I need to like invite her to sit,
Right.
you
You need
know?
to develop a relationship with her. Well, you brought up the
Yeah.
movie Inside Out, and the lesson in that movie is that all of these parts are okay and all of these parts
Yeah.
have a purpose. Maybe you don't need anger to kind of like be the driver of
Right.
your life or be in charge or overpower the other emotions, but there has to be space for it because it's a normal human emotion and it does serve a purpose as long as we can process it and move through to the other emotions as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want one of the biggest things I think that grief and that my mom not being here has taught me and continues to teach me is like how important it is to live well and to live fully. And part of my like promise to her and promise to myself is that I really want to like consider how I want to move through the world. And in the space of that, it's like, of course I need to make space for all the parts of me.
Yeah.
Like, of course I do. Um, and the perspective of, I don't know, death relates me to how I want to live. Like she didn't get to heal that. She loves that part of me.
Hmm.
Like that's just part of me and I'm allowed, but
Right.
this sort of like new permission that for me, unfortunately took some loss to sort of look at myself and go, okay, I don't go there, but I need to. That's
Right.
part of me. It's worthy because it's part of being a human being.
Being a human.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to shift a little bit and I just want to ask you because I am a life and relationship coach and a lot of my clients, I work with them on their relationships. How has the relationships with other people that are in your world, that are in your life, have you noticed that it's changed? Is it the same? What has that brought up in you? Just relationships in general, your thoughts on relationships. And I don't mean just romantic, I mean just anyone that is important to you in life.
Yeah. I mean, I think life has demanded of me that I visit my depths, like all this like grief. And I think the more I make space for it, the more I've realized how much capacity I have for like love and
Mm,
that I want people in my life. And I have beautiful friends and and wonderful family. And I think it's like opened me in new ways to like I really look at my friends. And again, not that I never did this, but it's different. I like will have a moment with somebody and I'm like, wow, this is actually the only thing that matters.
mm,
Like just being here and marveling at a human being that's in front of me. And it's given me a lot more compassion, I think, and patience. People have a bad day and I think I'm a patient person. And it's like I'm looking at people like, gosh, it's okay. Or like, you're
Mm,
allowed. And I
mm,
can like love you through it. And I think it's like opening my heart to love even more.
mm,
And just for what it's worth, but I had been married and I got divorced 2022, 2023,
mm,
separated and divorced. And that was like a first round with grief. And as I was like putting myself back together, this happened with my mom. And the reason the reason I bring it up is I can even look back at things that were difficult then, and I'm like, gosh, I where I am now, I hope I say the thing. Like in the
mm,
next person that comes into my life romantically, or and in my friendships and in my family relationships, like it's important to just say whatever it is, whether it's like, that hurt me, or I love you, or I see you, or I want to see you, or let's get together and like prioritize time. It's like it keeps gearing me back to, yeah, like how do I want to move through this life? And that people are really important and special, and everyone's going through their stuff. And
yeah,
I think if we really look at each other, we just see like the miracle that everybody is. And we're here. Like the people that
mm,
are here are here. And like we don't get to have everybody for all the
right,
time.
right. Oh, that was so beautiful and so touching. And it's such an irony or a paradox that with loss, it's given you this intense love of the people in your life and appreciation and compassion. And it's so beautiful. And it's unfortunate that the more that we love and the bigger that love is, the other side of that is the grief that comes
Yeah.
when we lose them, whether it's loss through someone's passing or the end of a relationship, but there's grief involved when there's love, and
Yeah.
yet it's so worth it. And it sounds like even though you've been through this tremendous loss and you're still, of course, this is something that's always going to be a part of you. I don't think it's not something you kind of get over. We talk about healing, but healing,
Yeah.
I think healing is more of an integration than really you're over it.
I think that word integrate, I think that's it.
Rather than closing yourself off and be like, it's too painful to love because I don't want to experience this loss and this grief, your heart is like wide open. And
Yeah.
you're so open and so loving to everyone with so much gratitude and compassion and grace. And I think that's beautiful.
Thank
That's
you.
beautiful that you've been able to do that. And so it takes such courage, I think.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's the invitation that loss and grief offers. And it's funny, again, not to go back, well, just to offer it, it's like after a breakup, after that, there was this like, oh, like the pain of it. And this like, oh my God, I don't know if I could do that again.
Right.
And desire to like really
Yes.
protect.
Right.
And I was my world got better. My friends came in, my family came, my mom showed up. Like my world, like the people were the ones that were there to bring me out of that.
Right. And lift you up through
And
that. Yeah.
yeah, and connect me back to myself and my life.
Hmm.
And then the loss of my mom so soon after, it's like there's this choice of not wanting to protect myself. It's like it's just not on the table the way that it maybe was on the table with like a divorce, because
Hmm.
that, I don't know, felt
Hmm.
different. It's like with this, it's like, no, Nat, like you get to
Mm.
be here. And I think
Mm.
that's applicable everywhere. It's just that death does that, I think, makes that invitation to live, because that's what the other side of it is.
Right.
I don't know if that
Right. Yeah,
made
that
sense, but
right.
yeah, just like there's a real invitation to life and living and opening if we take it, I have
Yeah.
found.
Right. And that's beautiful that you responded the way you did to that invitation,
Yeah.
because it's a choice, and that's beautiful. When we experience loss, we're grieving and mourning not just the person that we lost, not just your mom, but also a part of us. it's like our identity, who we were as
Yeah.
in relationship to that person. What is the relationship with yourself now, and how has that kind of changed and evolved?
I think something that I've sort of recognized in myself that I've allowed myself to hold is like, Nat, you're like strong and resilient and you have a big heart and you have the capacity, Nat, to like love and feel and care for and delight in the world. And you have a gift that you want to offer, whether it's through dance or it's in a yoga class. Like, I do want to invite people into presence because I want to do that for myself and into embodiment. And I think I'm seeing myself maybe more fully and
Mm,
letting myself. I think that maybe one of the big shifts I felt is, yeah, it goes back to this question of like, who do I want to be in the world?
mm,
And like, who am I already? And how much of that have I not allowed to be on the table, because of shape shifting or wanting to please or wanting to
mhm,
this or wanting to make my mom or wanting to, it's like, I think now there's this like a return in a way
mm,
of, like, no, I can exist in the world exactly as I am. And there's
mm.
a lot of good stuff in there,
Yeah.
when I get to feel deeply and I don't have to put this away and I get to go through life at my own pace and I can, you know, life has definitely said, you will visit your depths, like the hard stuff.
Mm,
And I find the more I do that, the more capacity I have for like joy and love and delight and, feeling expanded and potent. And so
yeah.
I'm just starting to, I don't know, feel myself more.
Mm. Right. It
What's
sounds
this
like
word?
you're
Spiritually?
right. It sounds like you're embodying the person that you are meant to be inside, and it's all coming out now. And it sounds like all of these emotions are just so raw that they
Yeah.
are like exponential in a way. So even whether it's the loss, the anger, the joy, the gratitude, it's just all wide open. And it sounds like you've developed or cultivated a beautiful relationship with yourself.
Yeah, it's been good. I just turned 40 like a week ago. And then that
Happy
too, it's like,
birthday. Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah.
Even that too, it's like, whoa, just somebody who was trying to be silly was like, oh, do you feel old? And I was like, no, babe, I am here.
Mm,
What?
yeah. Right. What a
Get out of
gift.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, look,
Mm-hmm.
survived that, lived through it, get
Mm-hmm.
to continue,
Yeah. Yeah.
look around. How amazing.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Beautiful. How does dance connect you to your mom now, and how do you hold on to her presence now?
Yeah. I mean, I started dancing every morning as a way to honestly to like hold my own hand in the last year. It was like the month leading to the 1 year anniversary.
Mm,
And so daily as like a ritual, as a way to drop in. Sometimes it's like not that deep. Sometimes I'm just tired. I'm like, I can't believe I'm doing, okay, great. But I pressed shuffle and I just let myself move.
mm,
Um, and often sometimes that feels like emotionally connected to her, like in a way that I feel. And sometimes I just know that Sheila always in dance was like her sign off. Like it's a time, there was always a reason to dance. And
mm,
so I think starting the day in that way is really special. And when I don't do it, I feel it. I'm
mm,
like, God, you know, I didn't, I didn't do that thing, even if it's sleepily. But also getting to dance in the show, getting to dance in Buena Vista is like the amount of alignment, serendipity,
mm.
synchronicity of a show that is built on is in our blood, the
Yes.
Cuban salsa
Mhm, mhm,
partnering and
mhm,
infused with ballet because the choreographers are ballet dancers. And so it's like this beautiful mix of like who I am and what my mom taught me And so every time I'm on that stage, there are moments either before or during that I'm like, all right, mom, like use my legs,
Mm,
vamos. Like,
mm, yeah.
let's do this one together. And I really, I feel her like
Mm,
in such a visceral way.
yeah. And she's there with you.
Yeah,
She's
always.
100% there with you.
Yeah, I really feel that. I don't think our people are somewhere else. Um,
Mm,
I think they're closer than before. In a way, right? My mom used to be in Miami,
mm,
and now she's everywhere I am, and she's everywhere
mm.
she's thought of, and everywhere she's considered, and every time people dance, she's there.
She's there.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm having
Absolutely.
leading the party.
Yeah. And, I think that you are a beautiful testament to what an amazing woman your mother was. And you are her legacy in not only what you do through dance, because you developed that love of dancing through your mom, but also in the amazing human that you are.
Thank you.
You are her legacy, and it's a beautiful, beautiful legacy. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing with us your experience and telling us about your mom. She was a beautiful human. I wish I could have known her. I might
Yeah,
have seen her at some point. I feel like I've
it's
seen
possible.
her, but I never met her. And yeah, I've really loved this conversation. I think it's an important conversation. I think people feel so alone when they feel loss and grief, and particularly when you lose your mother, is probably, other than losing a child, God forbid, that's got to be the biggest loss there is. I know for me, I lost my grandmother. I haven't, thank God I have my mom with me, but I lost my grandmother, and I was very close with my grandmother. And that has been
Yeah,
something it's been a journey for me. And I also feel very close with her. I dream about her all of the time. I feel like she's
I
always
love
with
that.
me. But is there anything else that you want to share with the listeners and the viewers before we say goodbye? Anything that we haven't touched upon that you feel you would
Mm.
like to share?
I think loss and grieving someone you love can be really isolating, just to say that out loud. I think it feels that way because it is that you
Mm,
all of a sudden you're in this. I sort of don't love the like, oh, now we're in a club or something. Just I'm like, get me out of there. But
mm-hmm,
but I think it can be isolating because you feel like you're the only one that's ever lost a mom like yours, and it's true, and I think what you said about we're their legacy, we get to be the continued song and the continued dance of the people we love.
mm-hmm,
And it's really a beautiful thing to get to live.
mm-hmm.
So we should do it.
Absolutely. I feel really honored to have had you on here and to have you share so openly with me. Let people know how they can connect with you. And is there any projects that you're going to be working on or looking forward to in the future, or anything new?
Yeah, I'm nothing like particularly new. Buena Vista is still
Mhm.
feels like the brand new delight in my life. So come on out, watch Buena Vista Social Club. Um, I yeah, I'm on Instagram at Natalie Caruncho. I do a Substack. I teach yoga. And
Okay.
if there's ever a way for me to be in someone's corner or listen, that's a door that's open.
Excellent. Excellent. So if you are listening to this episode or watching and anything that we shared today really resonated with you, please feel free to share this with someone that you feel needs to hear it. And remember to subscribe to the episode, whether it's or to the show, actually, to Life and Love by Design, whether it's on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and also like, share, give a review. And until next time, remember that your life and your love are yours to design. See you next time. If today's episode described you or your relationship, then this is your moment. You don't need more information. You need a new way of living, choosing, and relating. And that's the work I do with individuals and couples. If you're ready to stop repeating the same patterns and start designing your life and relationships intentionally, visit the link in the show notes and book a complimentary relationship and life audit. Remember, your life and your love are yours to design.